Welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with Immigration Attorney Brian Lerner. Happy Martin Luther King's Day today. I'd like to talk a little bit about the current immigration situation and Martin Luther King. There's a big difference and a wide gap between what Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to do and the way the country is today. Let's compare a little bit. If you go back to 1965, when Dr. King was making his speeches and trying to get civil rights and equality for all the people of America, you would be impressed by his speeches. I'll be honest with you, he is one of the best orators I have ever heard. It is amazing to hear him speak, and the points he makes are incredible. So you can go back and look at why we have this holiday today to celebrate the civil rights movement and so forth. But if you look at what's going on today, starting from the very top of our government with Trump, and wanting to build a wall to keep the people from Central America and South America and Mexico out, and to really build a symbol of division between the United States and them, you have the opposite of what Dr. King was trying to do. You have essentially a wall of racism going up, a wall of division. You have a wall that depicts the exact opposite of what America should be. And so here we are in 2019, all these years after 1965, going back, really going back before that time, because you can just look at some of the news stories. This last weekend with that Catholic school with the kids with the "Make America Great Again" hats on, doing what they did to that nice Indian man who was playing the drum, and blocking his way. Appalling. Appalling, the racism at even the youngest ages of kids these days. And where were the parents? Where were the teachers? Where were the instructors telling them that they should let this gentleman pass, and that they shouldn't block him, and that they shouldn't make a spectacle of themselves as they did? So, we have on one hand the president of the United States doing everything he can to build a symbolic wall, because the reality is, if you really think about it, and it doesn't take that much analysis, the wall won't work. There's already barriers put up, and people who want to come in illegally, they just come around. He was physically shown the tunnels that are built, so that just means there's going to be more tunnels that would be built under a wall. There's already been testimony from the top drug lords in Mexico that the way they get the drugs in the U.S. and the heroin is through coming in through the legal checkpoints, not jumping over the wall or the fence. So pretty much everything has really been disproved, and it's not that difficult to do. Which leads you to know that the only real reason the wall will go up is for a symbolic legacy of Trump. So if we look back at Dr. King and his messages and trying to unify the United States so that all people are treated equally, that's really what America's about. It is the fight against the racism, a fight against the bigotry, a fight against thinking that because you are one color, you are better than someone else because they're another color. I mean, when you think about that, that is just silly to think that because, for example, you have white skin, you are better than someone who has brown or black skin. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, everybody's individual. Everybody has their own path, and everybody makes their own mark in the United States, but we definitely have to show and we have to see that if racism and bigotry and division is permitted to go unchecked and unfiltered, it comes out of the worst places, and it basically puts a bad taste in people's mouths who are trying to get along with other people and trying to show that racism is not what America is about. And there's been some very, very good indications of that. Take a look at the current Congress, the current House of Representatives. There are more women in the House of Representatives now in this term than there has ever been. And in addition to that, there are a bunch of firsts: Muslim women, Indian women, women of color. They are there, in my opinion, because they saw, and the United States saw, how the Trump administration was promulgating racism and bigotry, and they stepped up, and the people saw they were stepping up and voted for them. So, ironically, because of the racism and bigotry that is currently happening in the U.S., it has made the House of Representatives much more culturally diverse than it would ever have been. So you can see that America does come forward and does do what's necessary to try to fight what is going on. But then you'd see that we do have to fight what's going on. We can't let the racism and the bigotry go forward. And you know, when Trump gave his speech this last Saturday about the wall and how he would compromise, I mean, everybody knows he was the one who took DACA away. He was the one who stopped the TPS from Central America and the other countries. And now he's saying he's going to allow it back. Well, you know, all this stuff is in court anyways, and it'll get up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're the ones that are going to decide if DACA goes or doesn't go. But the reality is, and what I'm not sure that he sees, is that if the Democrats or anyone agree to this wall, it's just a symbol, okay? Because it's not going to stop. It's not going to make the border safer. There's just no question about that. So it's a symbol, and it's a symbol of racism. And the Democrats, and I'm willing to bet a whole bunch of Republicans and a whole bunch of independents, do not want the United States of America to be symbolized by a big wall that essentially says bigotry and racism. That, and keep out. That's what it says. And so, you know, if we're going to become a unified country, then everybody has to see the reality of what's happening. There's nothing wrong with good, healthy debate. There's nothing wrong with having two sides to the coin. That is what makes a democracy. But you can't shove bigotry and racism down the throats of America. That won't work. While there might be some, as we can see, we can also see that there's a lot of fight back, and that eventually the civil rights will win, but it's a constant battle, as we can see, being 2019 and Dr. King doing his arguing and fighting and protests, you know, in the mid 60s. So we can't allow the bigotry and racism to continue as it has, which I'm happy to say, and I'm happy to see that there are many, many factions of the United States that are stepping forward and doing what's necessary to show what the real country of America is, and that is an inclusive country, a melting pot, and a country that allows people from all over Earth to come here, to settle, and to immigrate. Okay, if you like the video, click like, subscribe, and more on the coming weeks. Thank you.